thank you all for being here today. We know that you are the real voices that truly do believe that education is a priority in the state of Texas. I brought with me today because not everyone from around the state could have their voices heard here on the Capitol grounds. I brought with me signatures that Representative Lon Burnham gathered of almost 1,000 people from our district saying, we demand better. And I want you to know that from Fort Worth, Texas, they are here with you today. Their voices join with you today. You know, Texas was a land of opportunity long before it was a republic or a state. And as Texans, we are bred to believe that all things are possible for us. For us, opportunity is a birthright. It is the birthright of our children, and we do not and should not compromise on that principle. We know we are responsible for doing our share. Many of us have pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. It was a promise of a better tomorrow that steeled us toward that purpose. My own grandmother, married at 13, a mother at 15, who would eventually have 14 children, was uneducated, but she worked hard every day to assure that life would be better for her children. Her generation, like my mother's generation, believed in the value of investing in the future, believed its benefits not only for their own children, but for the state as a whole. My sixth grade educated mother had not a clue about how to guide her children through the educational arena, but the work ethic and optimistic hope that she passed on to her children is the reason that I stand here before you today. After a rough start as a teenage mom, a very poor single mother, to a person who became a college and graduate school educated person and who now has the privilege of serving my district in the Texas State Senate. Like so many of you who are here today, education was at the heart of my opportunity. The future of Texas is embedded in the foundations of opportunity that we create today, and education is the cornerstone of that opportunity. How many of you here were the first in your family to graduate from college? Raise your hand. How many of you here got your start in a public school? Raise your hand. How many of you can point to the impact that a caring, inspiring teacher had on your life in the public school system? Raise your hand. How many of you here today want a better life for your children and your grandchildren? Raise your hand. Today's Texas stands poised at the brink of deciding whether it will fail or succeed on behalf of its next generation. Some sobering statistics. National rankings place Texas somewhere between 45th and 49th on what we spend per pupil in education funding. And as Representative Scott Hochberg so eloquently has brought to our attention, funding does matter. With average funding for pupil in our exemplary districts over $1,500 on average higher per student than those in our unacceptable districts. Today, 18.8% of our workforce does not have a high school diploma, and that number is projected to rise to 30% of our workforce by 2040 if we don't do something to invest in our future. As demographer Steve Murdoch, the former head of the U.S. Census Bureau, has warned, if we do not change what we are doing, we could change the very economy of Texas. He points to a rapidly growing Hispanic population in Texas and provides a daunting statistic. Among Texas Hispanics 25 or older, 42.5% have less than a high school education. If we do not increase the competitiveness of our most rapidly growing population, primarily through education, Texas will be poorer and less competitive in the future, he cautions. And yet, today we stand before you understanding the preliminary impacts of the $5.4 billion that was cut from public education in last year's budget. Today we stand before you understanding that as many as 32,000 people in the education arena have lost their jobs. Today we stand before you understanding that classroom sizes are burgeoning, with TEA having approved class size increases for 8,243 classrooms already, as compared with the 2,238 classroom size waivers in the entire 2010-11 biennium. Today, we stand before you understanding that the defunding of pre-kindergarten programs have affected more than 100,000 at-risk children in Texas today. And today, we stand before you understanding that educator morale is at an all-time low. And yet, remarkably, those who have driven us down this path, those narrow special interest groups that care more about politics than about our children, are asking for even more, demanding that the state implement another 10% in cuts across the board by the next legislative cycle. Theirs is an agenda without vision. It is an agenda of a group of people who made it and pulled the ladder up behind them. Theirs is an agenda that will bring this great state to its knees. We've got to retake the dialogue in Texas. Like that greatest generation that Tom Brokaw talks about, a generation that was willing to invest in its future. We have to shift the momentum and remind those in charge in this capital that we come from Texas and we believe in opportunity. We have to say enough is enough. We are people of vision. We believe in the power of opportunity, and we expect that opportunity for the children of Texas and for the sake of Texas' very future. We have to say enough with corrupting our vision and hijacking it by an agenda that is about the politics of today rather than the people of Texas tomorrow. Regarding whether we needed to reconvene to take up the issue of public education funding or wait to be forced to do so by the courts, Governor Perry recently said, and I quote, "I would be stunned if there is an outcry from the people of this state." Is there an outcry? We are crying out, Governor Perry. We believe in opportunity, and we are demanding that it come. Thank you.